Hello everyone, this is Cody Lee of BlackCatBooks.org, author of I, the Dragon, Cool and Beautiful Rabbit Hole, King Dio, and the upcoming Lauren Frey. So, last weekend, I finally sat down and got through the last couple of volumes of Attack on Titan. The final one launched something like a week ago, so I finally went ahead and was just like, okay, I'm gonna read all of it. I'm gonna get through this thing. I'm finally gonna get caught up on this series that I've been in love with since I first saw it in 2013 or 2014 or so. I wasn't on the train right away. It took me a while to get on the AOT train, but when I did, I was in for a phenomenal time. Loved the show, loved the manga. Thought it was great all the way to the very end. I've talked a lot about that already. But the thing that I was thinking, long before I actually finished Attack on Titan, I think I felt this way even as early as like volume 15 or 16, right? Like during the end of the Uprising arc, right? At that point, we've been introduced to all these characters, all these ideas, all these concepts, all these plot lines, the setting, the world. There was so much that Attack on Titan did so well that even back then I would have said this, and I am doubly sure of it now. Attack on Titan is better than Berserk, indisputably. Now, there are a couple of reasons I would say this, right? Namely, Attack on Titan simply has a better plot, a better concept, better artwork, a better sense of style, more likable characters, more engaging plot lines, more variety, and a real evolution of character motivations and ideas. An ending, like that is all I really needed to say. That was actually like what I was going to focus on first. Is that like that's going to be what people try to say about AOT. Is that like, oh, the ending isn't good? Well, first of all, no, AOT's ending is fine. But second of all, Berserk didn't end at all. So you're kind of left in between a rock and a hard place when it comes to that. Like, Attack on Titan, I think, for better or worse, because I do feel like the last arc was kind of rushed and didn't really have the pizzazz that it probably should have, and probably could have fleshed out its ideas a lot better and had cleaner artwork, but like the climax is fine, and I think it's a fine send-off for the series. Attack on Titan, if it had like really took its time in developing every single plot line, every single character, every single aspect of the world and setting, it would have ended up like Berserk in this sort of state of like never being finished, right? For what? How long did Berserk run? Like 30 years, 30 plus years of just not getting fucking finished. Meanwhile, Attack on Titan does everything it wants to do in about 10. Right, that's way more admirable to me. Right, like Isayama actually had a vision about what he wanted to do with Attack on Titan, and a lot of it did come to fruition. Obviously, like when you're a creator, nothing ever goes exactly to plan. Sometimes, usually, what happens is that like everything is nowhere near as good as you originally envisioned it. At least in my experience, and occasionally you come up with something like way better than what you originally imagined. And I think in this case, there were a lot of ideas about about things that could be expanded on in Attack on Titan, but like they needed to be cut down on. They needed to focus on like the general plot and idea in order to get this thing out within a reasonable time frame. Otherwise, it would have become like Game of Thrones or Berserk or any of these other like endless sort of fantasy epics that don't really go anywhere because they had a bazillion concepts and never really followed up on any of them well, right? Berserk is like that. Game of Thrones is like that. Like again, I've talked about this before. Like there are things I can like criticize Attack on Titan for, and I think I will like go through the anime again and really start like talking about like specific arcs and specific like characters and like plot lines and stuff like that, and how the show ultimately resolved them. And there's a lot of stuff to talk about Attack on Titan. I'm seeing a lot of people on like 4chan try to say that like Attack on Titan is over, it's not relevant anymore. No, I think Attack on Titan is going to continue being popular for years to come, because what other show is going to replace it. That's my thinking on this. Like, Attack on Titan has so much more depth and complexity than something shallow and asinine like Game of Thrones, right? Attack on Titan has so much going for it, right? Even if you don't like the ending, right? Like, I don't understand. Attack on Titan is so well crafted and so engaging for such a long period of time. It's impossible not to respect it. Are you really going to dismiss it just because Eren didn't genocide everyone? Like, are you fucking kidding? Like I don't even understand why people are upset with the ending. It reminds me a lot of how like people were upset at like Harry Potter's ending because it didn't match up with their fan fiction ideas of what would happen. Like it's the same kind of energy for me. Like the people criticizing Attack on Titan, like from the very beginning to the very end, had no idea what they were talking about. I remember like back in 2015 or whatever when people were refusing to watch it because like, I don't like how people turn into Titans. I don't like how it's aimed at teenagers. I don't like the whole. I don't like the time skip. Like I don't like this or that or just people just not really. These are people, I think, who are desperately trying to dismiss something popular just because it's popular, right? They're not really taking in what the piece of media actually is at all, and instead are finding asinine things to complain about with it, right? In Attack on Titan's case, nearly all the criticisms I've seen lobbied at it from critics and from fans aren't really warranted. I think, if anything, I think Attack on Titan is a lot better than people are giving it credit for right now. I certainly am standing by it. I certainly support it. I certainly really respect what Isayama did and how he's handled the criticism in particular. I find Attack on Titan to be wonderful, wonderful. Now, in Berserk's case, right? Berserk is a story that started off with a clear vision, a clear focus, that got disjointed and disenfranchised as it went along. Berserk is the exact opposite of Attack on Titan, right? Where Attack on Titan had a clear goal and like it continued to expand, like to continue like to give more context and like understanding of like what it would mean to reach that goal. Berserk kind of started with this like very interesting, very engaging idea of this revenge story of taking revenge on this guy who backstabbed you back in the day, and just kind of completely lost focus. Like it completely lost track of what it was supposed to be about. I would say. By conviction, this was the case. I don't think the series really did a lot to make you care about a lot of the characters that weren't guts, right? Like I keep talking with people who insist that like that they don't care about these side characters. They don't care about where the story is now. They don't care for the recent the later developments in the manga. Like it really does feel like people were disappointed with Berserk for a very, 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 very long time. But because of its legacy, because of how long it had been running, because of like Mura's reputation, that people weren't willing to be openly critical of it. It's a lot like where From Software is now, where they keep putting out bad products, and people refuse to really acknowledge them as bad products because they are sacred cows, right? They are where Final Fantasy was in the 90s, right? Where like they started declining in 7, no one wanted to admit it. Got worse with 8, 10, 11, 12, 13, 15, like nobody wants to admit that Final Fantasy isn't good anymore, right? Same with Berserk, right? Like it started off like a reasonably entertaining dark fantasy manga. Nothing great, nothing spectacular, nothing unique, nothing original. Like it was just entertaining, and then it just kind of just continued focusing on shit that no one really cared about, right? It failed to really keep you invested in like the adventure, the journey, the general plot. And Mura, unfortunately, passed away before we could really get a real ending. And as a result of that, I think it's the same thing with George R. R. Martin, I think. Like, Mura dying before he finished Berserk is absolutely his fault. I don't like this idea among fans that, like, yeah, he's taking his time so he could keep the quality up, to keep it good, to keep it relevant. It's better to put out material than to, like, not put it out at all. You know what I mean? Like, this idea that, like, he was somehow, like, his work was better due to not putting it out as often. I don't think that is a reasonable thought to have when it comes to this kind of thing. Like Tagashi not releasing new chapters of Hunter x Hunter. It's the same thing. It's not due to like perfectionism or having a standard of quality. It's pure laziness. All right, like they really should be committed to getting this stuff done on time and releasing it to their audience within a reasonable time frame, no matter what, essentially. Yeah, some delays are to be expected, but in Berserk's case, they became so frequent, so long that it became apparent that I think Miura really needed to cut back on what he wanted to do. In order to give the story a satisfying conclusion. I think fundamentally what he should have done is focus exclusively on the relationship between Guts and Griffith. Like nothing else in Berserk really else matters other than that. And again, I'm maybe trivializing Berserk a little bit, but I do like genuinely feel that way. Is that Berserk was too bloated, went on too long, and really should have finished a long time ago. Like there was no reason to drag it on this long, that long. There was no reason to drag it on that long just so you can have more witch lollies or whatever the fuck was in later chapters of Berserk. I haven't read that much of Berserk yet. I have this volume in front of me that I haven't even touched because I haven't been that enthused about reading it after Conviction, which again was pure shit. So yeah, I think a lot of fan receptions to pieces of media are influenced entirely by their reputations among certain circles, right? In Attack on Titan's case, people got fired up about like the potential of Eren like just fucking killing everyone, and got upset when that didn't happen. Banging Historia and having a child with her, who would be a savior to the white race. Oh, I'm sorry, the Eldian race. People got salty when that didn't happen. Apparently, like, fans think the character of Armin is like a self-insert for Isayama. I don't really see it, but okay, whatever you say, buddy. Like these people have like created this weird narrative, like around Attack on Titan, like, oh man, it's a time loop. Oh man, like I've heard all this weird shit, and meanwhile, I the opposite spectrum, right, with Berserk, which people, or something like JoJo's Bizarre Adventure, where people pretend that it's way better than it actually is. You know, oh man, Berserk is the greatest fantasy ever told, or the greatest story ever told. Its artwork is stunning. Like, it's really annoying, right? Like, you are giving false praise to something in order to kind of fit in to this community online, right? Like, it has nothing to do with your actual enjoyment of the series in general. It's just a way to fit in, and I don't really think of the praise of for Berserk or the criticisms of Attack on Titan in anything more than those terms, because to me, that's all they are. They are just empty words trying to reassure the audience that the preconceived opinions are correct.